Rex opened one eye, let out a satisfied sigh, and went back to sleep. The echoes of the city were quiet at last. The fog of stained Johns, cold cases, and warm hearts. Chapter 1. The Silent Witness. Street Johns was a city built on stories, salt, and secrets. As the thick Atlantic fog rolled over the colorful houses of Jellybean Row, Detective Charlie Hudson stood at the edge of a crime scene, his coat collar turned up against the damp chill. Beside him, Rex, his German Shepherd partner, let out a low, intuitive whine. Charlie wasn't looking at the yellow tape. He was looking at Sarah Trong. Sarah moved with a clinical grace that always fascinated him. She was kneeling by a discarded briefcase, her dark hair tucked behind her ears, her eyes sharp behind her forensic goggles. To the world, they were the perfect team, the detective and the scientist. But in the quiet moments, the late-night coffee runs, the shared glances over a fingerprint, there was a magnetic pull that neither had dared to name. Megan Schaefer, Sarah said, her voice a soft anchor in the morning mist. A lawyer at Wilkins Law. Based on the struggle and the lack of blood, this wasn't an execution, Charlie. It was a snatch job. Charlie knelt beside her, his hand briefly brushing hers as he pointed to a scuff mark. The touch sent a jolt through him, more potent than the salt air. She moved back home 2 ago. A breakup with a co-worker named Jamie. The parents think he took it badly. It's more than a breakup, Rex barked, nudging a piece of paper nearby. They found a witness, but not the kind they were used to. Brian, a 12-year-old boy with autism, sat on the sidewalk nearby, his hands trembling as he gripped a box of colored pencils. His mother, Emma, looked at Charlie with a desperation that broke his heart. He doesn't speak much, Emma whispered. But he draws. He draws everything he sees. Sarah approached the boy first. She had a way of softening her sharp edges that always made Charlie's heart skip a beat. She sat on the cold pavement, ignoring the dirt on her professional slacks. "Hi, Brian," she said softly. "Rex here is a very good boy. He wants to help you." Rex, sensing the boy's distress, rested his chin on Brian's knee. Slowly, the boy began to draw. The pencils flew across the paper lines of a van, the silhouette of a man, and a face that wasn't Jamie's. It's not the ex-boyfriend, Charlie realized, looking over Sarah's shoulder. Their faces were inches apart. He could smell the faint scent of jasmine and chemicals that always followed her. Jamie is a red herring. This is professional. As the investigation deepened, the romantic tension between Charlie and Sarah simmered beneath the surface of the ticking clock. They found Jamie Bregman later that day, dead. Stabbing wound, chromium shards in the wound. He was a pawn, Sarah analyzed back at the lab, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. Someone framed him to take the fall for the embezzlement at the firm, then killed him to tie up the loose ends. And Megan is still out there, Charlie said, pacing the room. He stopped behind Sarah, resting his hands on the back of her chair. "I can't lose her, Sarah. I mean, we can't let this end badly. Not today." Sarah turned around, her brown eyes searching his. For a second, the case disappeared. "We won't, Charlie. We have Rex. And we have each other." The rescue was a blur of adrenaline. The kidnapper, a hardened criminal named Earl Blackburn, had been hired by Todd, a partner at the law firm. They tracked them to an abandoned machine shop using the scent Rex picked up from the ransom money. When the dust settled and Megan was safe, Charlie found Sarah leaning against the SUV, the moonlight reflecting off the harbor. He walked up to her, the silence between them heavy with words unsaid. "You were amazing today," he said, his voice husky. Sarah smiled, a rare, brilliant thing. "It was the dog." "No," Charlie stepped closer, the distance between them vanishing. "It was you." He reached out, his thumb grazing her cheekbone. Sarah laughed, a sound that Charlie decided was his favorite in the world. "Come on, detective," she teased. "The night is young, and I think we earned that pizza." Chapter 2. High Stakes and Salt Water. The romance of the city was often found in its shadows, but the next case took them to the glittering waves of the marina. A billionaire, Jacob Kaufman, had been murdered on his yacht, Best Kind. The setting was a stark contrast to their usual gritty streets. A spear gun, Sarah noted, examining the body. Brutal and precise. Charlie watched her work. Even on a yacht surrounded by luxury, Sarah was the most beautiful thing there. He found himself imagining a world where they were on this boat for a vacation, not a murder. Kaufman was a bully, Charlie said, interviewing the crew. He humiliated everyone. His wife, his partner, the deckhands. Everyone had a reason to want him dead, but the motive was more complex than revenge. It was about a hidden key, a 4-digit hexadecimal code for hundreds of millions in cryptocurrency, engraved inside a reproduction of a vintage diving watch. As they investigated, they found themselves caught in a web of deceit. The business partner, Veronica, was playing a dangerous game. Charlie and Sarah had to go undercover at a high-end hotel to track a lead. Sarah wore a cocktail dress that left Charlie breathless. He wore a sharp suit, feeling entirely out of his element. "You look," Charlie began, stumbling over his words as they stood in the hotel lobby. "Professional?" Sarah suggested, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Breathtaking," he corrected. They had to dance to blend in. As Charlie pulled her close, his hand on the small of her back, the friction between them was electric. They moved in perfect sync, a silent conversation happening in the touch of their hands and the proximity of their breath. "Charlie," she whispered, her head resting near his shoulder. "If we get out of this, I want to talk. About us." "I don't want to talk," Charlie murmured, his heart racing. "I want to show you." The moment was interrupted by a sighting of the suspect. The chase was on. They tracked the watch to the yacht, where a final confrontation with Veronica and a deckhand named Blaine took place. Veronica held a gun, her eyes cold. "It's my money. I earned it by putting up with him." Rex lunged, disarming her before a shot could be fired. As the police led her away, Charlie found Sarah on the deck, looking out at the dark ocean. "The watch was just a fake," Sarah said, holding the mahogany case. "All that blood for a reproduction. People kill for the idea of wealth," Charlie said, joining her. "But the real things, the things that matter, you can't engrave those on a watch." He took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. This time, he didn't let go. Chapter 3. The bitter taste of legacy. The third week of the month brought them to the Devereaux distillery. The air was thick with the scent of juniper and old family resentment. William Devereaux, the patriarch, was found dead in a vat of his own gin. "Drowned," Sarah said, her voice echoing in the vast distillation room. But there was a blow to the head first. This was a family affair. The Devereaux children, Alan, Jaden, and Melanie, were a nest of vipers. Each had a motive. Alan was the failure, Jaden was the greedy CFO, and Melanie was the rebellious daughter whose ideas were always ignored. Charlie and Sarah spent hours in the lab, trying to identify a secret ingredient in the new gin that seemed to be the catalyst for the murder. It was Rex who finally cracked it, sniffing out a sample of Labrador tea. During the long nights of research, Charlie and Sarah shared meals in the precinct's break room. They talked about their pasts. Charlie's childhood in the woods, Sarah's journey through the world of science. "I always felt like I had to be the best," Sarah admitted one night, leaning her head against the vending machine. "To prove that I belonged. But with you, Charlie, I feel like I just belong." Charlie walked over to her, his shadow falling over her. "You do belong. With me." He kissed her then. It was a slow, tentative kiss that tasted of cheap coffee and untapped longing. When they pulled apart, the world felt different. The case wasn't just a job anymore. It was the backdrop to the beginning of their life together. They eventually discovered that Melanie was the killer. She had drowned her father to prevent him from changing his will, then tried to frame her brothers using a poisoned bottle of gin and eye drops. "He saw what I was capable of," Melanie screamed as they led her out. "He finally saw me." "But you didn't see him," Charlie replied coldly. "You only saw the money." Chapter 4. The Final Trail. The final test of their bond came in the deep woods of Cape Royal. A witness to a gangland shooting, Wyatt Donner, had fled into the forest, and a professional